making sure. Oh, Ella just joined, so let's let her in. Okay. All right, hi guys, hi everyone. It's amazing to realize this is our 4th day. We have one more day left in our festival.
What's Daddy doing?
Thanks so much for working hard and making music. We're gonna start our lecture soon with Avery. Avery Waite. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube Live, thanks for tuning in. We have Avery Waite giving us a lecture today. He is a cellist. Oh, Brendan's computer is on really loud. Avery Waite is a cellist. He is somebody who's seen the world. His musical career has taken him into many parts of the world, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Lebanon, India, just to name a few. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing arranger. I can go on and on. One of our really favorite dear friends. So we're really lucky and happy that he's here today with us. Please, I think you guys all have your videos up. So yeah, if he has any questions, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I'll be on YouTube too. So if you have any questions for Avery, leave it on the comment section and I'll pass it on. If we have time, we'll get to it for sure. So without further ado, we'll send it over.
Did you get some toys? I just had a Ray.
Okay, spotlight video. And everybody, if you can mute your videos, have the videos up, but just have it muted. That'll be good. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for the nice introduction, Garen. Yeah, it's a pleasure to present this for you today. I've had a very interesting and varied career thus far. I was trained to play cello, but I ended up doing a lot of different things and living in a lot of different places and basically being a 21st century musician, exploring all different kinds of avenues, artistically and professionally, while never giving up on music, but allowing the journey to take me into all different kinds of interesting directions. So today we have a little lecture about how to be curious, how to be creative, how to be adaptable, different strategies for kind of going about your life in music so that it can be as rewarding and meaningful as possible on a personal level, professional level, spiritual level. So first of all, thanks to everyone who filled out the form. It's really cool. I'm starting to look at some of your responses here. And I will be asking you to share some of those responses a little bit later on in the presentation. In the meantime, if you can, all the students, please get a piece of paper, a pencil, something to write with. You're not going to be doing a lot of writing, but I want you to be able to jot down a couple of thoughts. You can use a tablet or computer, whatever you want to do. Good. So let me jump. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see the screen? Yep, okay, awesome. All right. So I want to quickly recap on the questions that I sent you in the survey. You'll recognize these three questions from your responses from the survey. And basically, I want to see if anyone is willing to kind of jump in here and share something that they wrote. I can see all of your responses from the survey. So there were some really, really fun and quite thoughtful responses. So now that you had a chance to actually think about it earlier in the day, would anyone like to jump on and unmute yourself and respond to the first one. 3 personal traits that you feel best capture you as a person. Someone unmute yourself. You already had a chance to think about it. Anyone?
Okay, I guess I'll go.
Okay, Matt.
So I believe what I put was along the lines of entrepreneurial, artistic, and one other thing. I don't remember what. Intelligent, I think. But so I put entrepreneurial because I am really big on going in and doing like really cool and new, interesting ventures and things like that. I have been doing freelance web development for about 2-3 years now, so I've always been like really good when it comes to like, being a business person, creating stuff and getting it out and really working to create new things, startups, stuff along those lines. And I put artistic because, well, music has been a really big part of my life for me, playing the cello, and artistic also goes into being a web developer, because there's not only this whole technical side you have to do with, making sure it works correctly, but also making sure it looks good, because most of the time I'm also not only the developer, but I'm also the web designer as well. So I get to lay it out, make it look nice, pick colors that work together. Yeah, and then intelligent for the third one, because something I've heard people tell me my whole life, and yeah, it's just, I feel like,
Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you for going, elaborating on those points. Those are great. I want to share a few. I'm looking at some of the responses here. Jarek, calm, introspective, introverted. I'm just sharing these. I hope it's okay. Jiho, smart, ambitious, observant, detail-oriented, hopeful, honest, artistic, loyal, reckless. There are all these great words that you all came up with. Would anyone else like to share the words that they came up with and explain a little bit about them? Or okay, going on to number 2 then. Recall a moment with music when you felt recognized in a way that was unique to you, when you received feedback that resonated with a deep sense of who you are. There were some beautiful responses to this one. Would anyone like to share what they wrote in response to this question? Jump in. You can unmute yourself. I might have to call on somebody.
I don't mind going again.
Sure, yeah, by all means.
So for mine, I think it was, I said whenever, because I've had multiple teachers and people I've had master classes with, and even you, Avery, said, you think I'd be a good cello teacher somewhere along in the future. And why that really resonated with me is because, so back in 8th grade, I taught a coding club, and then I also we have South Bend Code School. I taught there for a summer as well. So like, I've always kind of been big on teaching, and the way I look at it is a way to share a ability, a talent, a gift, or share the means of doing it and the means of completing it, in a sense. So I really like it. Really resonates because it's like saying, okay, I'll be good at being able to share something I'm really passionate about and really good at, and being able to share that with other people who are also, passionate about it as well.
That's great. Yeah, which leads me to the next part, reflecting on the big reason you play your instrument and why you love music. And I thought I would just share the summary of that little kind of survey results here. I know there was a little drop-down menu. You had to choose which one was the most, how should I say this? The most important to you. And 30% of you said that The main thing that motivates you with music is that a sense of accomplishment, the challenge to surpass one's limitations and to constantly improve. 30% of you said that the main reason is love of music itself as a listener and as a performer. Another 30% of you chose passion for music making. And then 10%, one person said the love of performing, being in front of an audience. I know it's really hard to choose just one of those. I know I would struggle with that for a while, but it's good to always check in. Why do we love to do what we do? To kind of remind ourselves instead of just going along and not thinking deeply about why we play music, why we play our instrument, what drives us, what motivates us. Okay. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go on a little bit with my presentation here. I will be asking you to do a little bit more writing and reflection later on, but I just want to share a little bit about myself. So I was trained to play the cello, but I've done all these other things. Can you see my screen, Yaron? Yeah, okay. Full-time orchestra musician, luthier, executive director of a nonprofit, ukulele teacher, website creator, development, marketing, recruitment, etc., instrument salesman, conductor, composer and arranger, songwriter and producer, public school teacher. So I've done all of these things, not all at the same time, but music has basically created different paths for me to follow. And I've used the skills I've learned as, in my training with music to apply to all these other jobs I've had. And so these are called basically transferable skills. And if we think about the skills that we develop through studying music, what transferable skills we learn will serve you in anything you decide to pursue. So I thought of a few here. For example, when we study music, we have a relentless work ethic, right? We have to keep going until it's perfect. Creative problem solving. If something isn't working right, we have to think of another way to do it. Another example might be the ability to be an effective team member. In this case, playing chamber music is how to communicate and collaborate with other people. So now I want you to take just a minute and think about a few more skills or qualities that you develop as you study music and how you could transfer them to really anything else you do in life, whether it's a job or just your personal life or your family life, anything. So take 1 minute, and then I'm going to call on some people to jump in and tell me what you wrote, okay? Okay, hope you came up with some good ones. Someone jump in. You can unmute yourself. Give me one of these skills that we learn in music.
I'll go.
Okay.
Multitasking.
Sure. Anyone else?
I said leadership. I know for me as a person, like, if not for music and all the things that you have to do within like chamber music and orchestra, and even in like personal individual practice, I wouldn't have the confidence that I do in other situations in which I might have to lead a group or something. So yeah, because especially in like chamber music and even in orchestra, if you're like a section leader or something, you have to take responsibility for your mistakes as well as the state of like the whole group. So yeah.
Great.
Time management would be another big one because, you know, especially as like a high school student, trying to fit in like um, 2 or 3 hours of practice a day on top of schoolwork and extracurriculars, that can be quite a feat to manage sometimes.
Yeah, say you have 30 minutes to practice and you really need to learn something because you have a lesson tomorrow or something. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else want to jump in?
Hand-eye coordination.
Okay, yeah, that's an important one. The fine motor skills we develop, yeah.
One is probably communication because you can communicate your ideas to other people.
Absolutely.
Courage and like facing performance anxiety, which can be like even in school and stuff if you have to present something, like resisting like social anxiety and stuff like that.
Yeah, or like public speaking, anything like it builds the confidence to get up in front of people. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's see. Now, I want to share some ideas here for you guys to think about. You can take notes or kind of reflect on some of these or write little responses as you wish. These are my ideas on basically music and life and the combination of the two. And I separated them into 3 categories. The first one is all about your musicianship. The second category is the social game, because music is ultimately a social activity. And it's for people. It's a form of communication that brings people together. So what is it about the social part of music? And then the third section I have is basically some big ideas, big philosophical ideas that will help to positively impact your musicianship and your approach to life and people and relationships. So I broke it into 3 sections here. There are 5 kind of ideas per section. So 15 ideas on music. So part 1 is your musicianship. And now there's this quote that I absolutely love. It's by Kurt Cobain. I'm sure many of you know him. He was the lead singer of Nirvana. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person you are. I think this is a powerful quote. It gets back to what we were talking about earlier, thinking about the things that make us really unique as musicians, as people, thinking of those 3 words, like what is it about me? What's the one word that I can take ownership? This is me. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through all these things. This is all about finding who you are, thinking about who you are. Okay, the first one here is be truthful and intentional. Make sure that the music you make means something to you, that it expresses your values. Avoid the infinite loop of taught understandings. Find your own voice, your own reason, and go deeper into the music to find more compelling truths. So now I wrote this thing, infinite loop of taught understandings. I know that sounds kind of like confusing and convoluted. What I mean by that, this is a friend of mine always said this. He was a jazz saxophonist. And he thought that so much of our music that we learn is taught to us. We're taught to understand it instead of living the music and having learning things through lived experience. So this is all about finding more reasons and more truth in the music that you make. So for example, you guys, you're all learning new pieces of music. To go deeper into the music, to find out more about it, find out more about the composer, find out what resonates with you. Why do you like it? Not why your teacher told you that you should like it, right? All right, my second point here is take a stand. Music is the weapon of the future. This is a quote from Fela Kuti, who's a great African artist. And he said basically this idea that we can use music for a lot of different uses here. So what do you want to do with your music? What issues matter to you? Music is social. How are you going to reach people? In this day and age, it's very important to decide what you want to do with your music. What do you want to say? What is your message? What issues can you kind of reflect on through your music? This is a very important one, especially these days. Okay, this is a slightly controversial title here for this section. It doesn't matter how good you are. Music is ultimately about people, not purely for its own sake. It's a form of communication which connects us. Always consider your audience, consider the ears that listen. Don't discount anyone as having poor taste or being ignorant. Don't turn up your nose at anything. I find that in classical music, there is an issue with this, right? There is sometimes an elitist and a pretentious sort of aura around classical music, but we need to get rid of that. It's a thing of the past, and we need to be open to everyone's experience and think more about what we're communicating with our audiences and not just about music as this perfect thing that people should appreciate. Okay, this is my final bit of advice in this section, is find your voice. Experiment with different styles to see where you find your voice. There's new music, Baroque, pop, jazz, etc., etc., etc. Embrace the renaissance of crossover and multi-stylistic playing. So many musicians these days have sort of traversed different genres. If you look at someone like Yo-Yo Ma, even one of this iconic classical music person who's played all these different styles of music, and has reached so many more people because he's been open to that. Don't be afraid of composing or arranging. There's great artistic satisfaction to be had in playing a more active role in the music you produce. For me personally, I do a lot of composing and arranging, and I find, and also recording and all of this stuff, because I love being a part of the whole process, the whole creative process, from the beginning of putting the first note on the page to performing it or recording it or anything. Don't be afraid to start from the beginning and not always wait for someone to put that music on the music stand for you to play and teach you how to play it. Okay, oh, there's one more. Keep practicing. Keep feeding your craft. If you're not practicing, you're not a practicing musician. This practice doesn't need to be celebrated or even to be deadline oriented, but instead is just for you and you alone. This is a really crucial one, especially during these times when concerts have all stopped. There are no more sort of, I'm getting ready for this competition or this audition or et cetera, et cetera. That's all gone for now. So we need to find internally what motivates us to keep practicing. Our own love of growing and improving is what we need to hold on to during these times, and really after this is over too. Okay, so I want you to take just a minute here to write and reflect on these previous ideas I just shared with you guys. What ideas resonated with you? What do you think you could work on? You know, what's new to you? And then maybe what ideas would you add to this list? So just take a minute and maybe write down a few thoughts, and then we're gonna reflect on that a little bit, okay? I'll start a timer here, 1 minute. Okay, guys, let's hear some responses here. What ideas resonated with you guys? What do you want to think about more?
I don't mind starting. If you guys want to type it in, if you don't feel like speaking, you can type it in. But I love the idea that if you're not practicing, you're not a practicing musician. I think for a lot of us, including myself, being goal-oriented is sort of the end-all, be-all. You don't practice unless you have a concert. And I think that this time right now is a great opportunity to have a huge amount of time to change that in yourself, to really become somebody who practices for the love of it, and is not concerned with deadlines the way we normally are.
Yeah, well said. Any other thoughts? Anyone experiment with different styles of music? Or they want to do that?
I want to hear from our students here who is interested in experimenting with different styles, or within classical music, if anybody's interested in other styles. I'm very curious to hear their answers.
So I did a cello mastery course a couple weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to be exposed to some more folk music, as well as a really cool and interesting Armenian piece as well. So that was really cool. It gave me definitely a different world of music, and it was really cool to be able to sort of experience something that's different outside of the broad range of classical music.
Nice.
My great grandfather on my mom's side was a bluegrass fiddler. He taught himself how to play like a ton of instruments because, like, I mean, growing up in a really poor family, he got his hands on a ton of instruments, and then to pass the time, you teach yourself how to do all this kind of stuff. And he was actually like the reason that I chose to play violin. I remember being like 5 years old and like watching him perform in this like tiny little like podunk town in Illinois where they all lived, and it was like it looked like they were having so much fun. And I just like, you're 5, you're looking at that, they're like jamming out on a stage, and you're like, I want to do that. And then so as soon as classes became available at my school, I like forced my mom to go let me sign up. I've never like actually forayed back into that, and I kind of always wanted to, but I've made the excuse that I'm too busy or something to do it. I guess it's kind of scary as someone who's so used to one thing to try and do something that's basically entirely different. Like let go of rules and stuff. But I think that would be really cool, and it'd be kind of a tribute to 5-year-old me.
That's great. Good. Well, I'm going to forge ahead here. This is our next section. I want to talk about the social game. And I stole this from Survivor. I don't know if anyone watches Survivor, but in Survivor, there's a very important part of Survivor is the social part of it, right? You don't want to piss people off. You want to like bring them a nice coconut, and then they're not going to vote you off the island. So this is the social game. I like to think of it that way. My first big one, and this is one I've lived by, really, like every aspect of my life, is say yes. Be open to new experiences, be bold, be fearless, and most importantly, be available, right? It's this idea that if someone says, hey, you want to do this thing with me? I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be really cool. Maybe it's going to take a lot of your time and pay you absolutely nothing. What do you say? Yeah, say yes, be available, just do it. You never know where things will take you. That's the big takeaway from that. Sometimes you'll regret saying yes, but at least you know. At least you know what happened, right? You won't wonder what would have happened. All right, second one here I think of as nurturing relationships. Maintain and nurture relationships with your greatest supporters. Don't waste your time on people who don't see your worth or who don't really value you. Don't don't worry about them. Don't waste your time on them. Remember the people who really see you for who you are and value you as a person. I try to live by this. You know, we often think of, in music, we should be doing this, we should be playing with this person, we should this or that. But really, what's most important is to know who your friends are, and trust those friendships that you know are going to last because they really care about you. Now, this is a word you may have heard is networking, which is something when you're a bit older and you're trying to make it in music professionally, you have to network. It means just talking to people, forming relationships that may or may not turn into work opportunities. Network through mutual respect. Network in ways that honor your values. And that basically, in my book, means see other people as human beings, not as stepping stones, not as means to an end who are going to like get you the fancy concert or get you the scholarship. Be yourself, be humble, and be gracious. These qualities will get you the farthest in terms of networking. Next one is focusing on yourself. Don't worry about what other people are doing and how you should be more like them. It's a journey and not a competition. I remember in music school, I constantly thought about, this person is doing this fancy competition, or they're going to this prestigious music festival. How come I'm not doing that? I should be doing that. And it did drive me. For those of you who are more competitive, these things will drive you. But don't see it as a competition. Try to have your own journey, right? Don't worry about other people. What you're supposed to do when you don't like a thing is change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. And this quote by Maya Angelou kind of speaks to that you're really in charge of your own journey. If you don't like it, don't worry about what other people are doing. You're in charge of your own path and your own journey. This is a good one. I'm sure many of you already have a private teacher or someone who supports you. Find a mentor. Look for someone you respect, admire, and trust. A mentor should challenge you and provide valuable perspective. This could be a parent, private teacher, your orchestra director, someone who's not just going to tell you what you want to hear, but they know you, and they are going to be honest with you. This is important to find people like this in your life. Okay, another quick time for reflection. Take a couple of minutes here to think about what we were just talking about in the social game, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion as well. All right, I started the timer. We've got a minute of thinking. Okay. Would anyone like to jump in with some thoughts about the social game? Someone we haven't heard from yet, maybe? Someone who's eating lunch? Or dinner? I guess it's dinner there.
I'll just go there.
I would say that the best thing I did in school was say yes to everything that I could. Like, you learn so much just by doing as many different things as you can. That for me was like, just once I decided that was going to be my attitude, that was like the best decision I ever made.
Right, and then people start seeing you as someone who says yes, who is just open to things. And that's such an important kind of way of being in the world. Any other
I
thoughts?
would like to add to that what Avery said and what Rose just added on is I think a lot of times what keeps people from saying yes is that fear of, oh, I'm not going to do a good job. You know, oh, this might be a total failure. So why waste time? Why waste other people's time? And I think what I've learned is that there really isn't such thing as failure in music, I think, or in life, in anything. If we, all the mistakes I've made, it just helped me to be better for the next time I tried. And that's actually takes a lot of courage to accept that you might fall, you might burn and crash this time, but maybe you'll, get something out from it. So I think it goes with saying yes and also saying yes again, even if it wasn't right. You just keep doing it until you get it. I think that's my take.
I also, oh, you're in. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, sorry. On the, I just wanted to comment on the focus on yourself and find a mentor, because I mean, those of you that have any sessions with me, you notice that I quote a lot of people, and this is like, I'm not like dropping names. I'm really like very thankful to these people that I consider mentors. And sometimes somebody that I never met, like, a quote that I heard about Corelli and stuff like this. But a lot of the times, I felt that I found my voice because I was lucky enough to have these mentors.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right, well, let's forge ahead here. We're getting close. Now, our final, this is very vague, some big ideas. This is where everything ended up that I couldn't fit into the other categories. All right, and this is kind of what Yaron was just talking about, is to get out of your comfort zone. You only really grow when you step out of your comfort zone. Accept challenges, even if they seem daunting, scary, or you don't feel at all qualified for it. Just try. You'll never know if you don't try, and it's okay to fail. It means you're learning, right? These are all kind of things you've probably heard before, but it's because they're true. I especially feel that it's so easy to get stuck in your comfort zone and say, this is what I do, this is me. I don't do those other things. I don't improvise, I don't do this, but at some point you have to step outside a comfort zone. That's where the real magic happens. All right, next one is consider your path. Focus on your goals. Don't let your teachers prepare you for the career in music that they had. This is kind of, I'll just say it again. Don't let your teachers prepare you for the career in music that they had, right? As teachers, we sometimes teach what we know, what our experience is. But you are the next generation. You're the young people. You're going to have your own career, and the world is going to look very different. You have to think to the future, to your future. Times change. Do not make the mistake of buying into an outdated way of thinking, an antiquated approach to music making, or an old perspective. You are the future. Make your own path. Don't let us old people get in your way and tell you what to do, right? You have to find your path and your future. Constantly check in, reflect on your goals, revisit and reassess your big picture. I do this all the time. I remember in 8th grade, I had it was a career development class or something with your parents. And the person teaching the class said that people in my generation will change careers every 5 years. And I didn't know what that meant back then, but now I understand. It's like times change quickly, and you have to kind of reassess where you are all the time to try to stay on top of your goals. Never stop learning. Continue to push yourself to keep learning. When you stop growing as a musician, you will lose the will to keep striving, pushing. This is a quote I love by the legendary cellist Pablo Casals. Was asked why he continued to practice at age 90. And he says, because I think I'm making progress. I love this idea that It never ends. This path we're on never ends, and keep following it. Don't think you're ever at the end, because you're not. There's always more to know. Final one here, and this is a personal one for me, is to travel. I know right now no one's traveling anywhere, but traveling is so important. Get out of your bubble. Travel is the best education and can teach you more about life than any etude. It's okay to put the cello or violin or anything away for a few weeks. A critical life experience can unlock tremendous creative potential in a way that no amount of practicing can. If you can't physically travel, you can travel through books or movies, or you can travel in lots of different ways, just basically to open your eyes and be open to things. All right, I want to give you a little bit more time here to reflect on the last section of the big ideas. I'll start the timer here, and we'll have a little discussion about that. Okay, let's hear some thoughts. Any of those ideas resonate with you guys? Anything to share?
I love the idea of never stop learning, because even though, so like I've been out of school for a while now, and I haven't had a private teacher for probably 10 years or something now at this point, but every time I play with someone, every time I teach someone, every time I talk to someone about music, I learn something new, and I, think about music differently, and it's just this constant evolution. And that's what's so wonderful about, I think one of the things that's so wonderful about our chosen profession, but also just a really great attitude for anything that you do in life, is to just always keep learning, sort of perpetual student.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would want to piggyback on that as well, because continuous learning is something I find amazing and just great. Lifelong learning is something I'm really big on, and just learning in general. Like, one of the big things I really like to do as far as learning is like learning new languages, because that opens the door to so many new opportunities, new things, new cultures, especially when you pair it with the topic of travel. I was actually set to go and study Spanish abroad in Spain this summer, but we all know what happened. So, and I was excited for that because I'd be able to, get out of this regular mundane sort of location, I guess. Well, I wouldn't say mundane, but this regular location, go somewhere new that I'm not used to, learn a whole bunch of new stuff while speaking a completely different language that I don't speak regularly, and also get exposed to new cultures, new ideas, new food. Just lifelong learning in general, and put it into any context, is just something that's really amazing.
That's great.
For me, as someone who's like admittedly young and inexperienced in a lot of areas, the more that I like go on, I mean, admittedly, I'm 17 years old. I've done essentially nothing, but the kind of caveat to that is like, the more that, like, the older I get, just like you realize how little you actually know about anything, even stuff that you've done for a long time. Like violin I've done for 10 years, and people who are like older than me will scoff at me and be like, 10 years, like noob. But I mean, the more that I play, the more I realize, oh my gosh, like there's so many things that over the next 20 years I'll get better at. And then from there, I'll realize, oh God, there's still things I need to get better at. I mean, I think that's the good thing about learning, is that the more you learn, the more you realize that there is to learn. And so you can continue to keep yourself interested and excited because there's just like an ever expanding universe of things to understand. So yay, understanding and learning.
Oh, well put. Any other thoughts to add? All right. Well, I just want to...
Just one little thing on the getting out of your comfort zone. I want to make a challenge to our students. Like you mentioned Fela Kuti, and I want to know how many of you have heard of Fela before and have heard of his music. Any hands up? I'm going for you guys. Okay, guys, go listen to Fela. It's exceptional. It's super interesting. And also he was also a big activist and stuff. And now his kids are making music, and especially the youngest one who's up for the Grammys last year. It's just absolutely beautiful stuff. Very, very interesting. And so I'm challenging you to get out of your comfort zone and go listen to some Fela Kuti.
That's Fela, F-E-L-A, and then K-U-T-I. Good. So I want to just wrap up with this quote here that I love. It's, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. I think especially this year, right? We can't go back. What's done is done, but you can start right where you are now and try to make the most in the present moment, always thinking about where you are in the moment, what you can do with it. No regrets, no looking back, no complaining, just seeing where you are and going from there. So I thought I would just, if anyone has any final questions about anything we talked about, this is your moment. Otherwise, it looks like we're right around 2:30. If there's anyone have any thoughts they'd like to share?
Well, can I just ask, it's not really a question, but you know, you've done some really amazing things, Avery, with MuseAid, and a lot of your incredible things, you know, going to Afghanistan, and you know, you're telling everyone to come out and get out of our comfort zone. You've kind of made a career out of it. What would you say is like the #1 thing that you would recommend for any of the students here who are thinking of going abroad and trying to make a difference in a really, you know, the way that you did? What would you say is the #1 argument to do it from your experience?
To go abroad? Is that what you mean?
Well, you didn't just go abroad though. You went to Afghanistan. You've been to all sorts of places. You've really, I feel like, have spent time in really meaningful places. So what would be a good argument for that, I guess, is what I would say.
Well, I think we all know music matters, right? In every context, in our context, in our life, in our world, in our town, it matters there. But it also matters in Afghanistan, it matters in Iraq, in Lebanon. So what's amazing about teaching and performing in other places is that you see that it's different, but it's the same. And that your love of music can translate everywhere you go. It's like, I like to think of music as sort of like a passport, right? You take it with you and it just opens doors to anyone, no matter where they come from, who they are, whatever their background is. Music will just open doors for you. And then I guess my other bit of wisdom there is just to kind of leave. It forces you to take yourself a little bit less seriously, and you leave all of this stuff behind, all of your preconceived ideas of, oh, over there they do it like this, or over there they don't know anything about this. You know, you have to come with a fresh set of ears and eyes when you show up in a new place, and then you really, when you step out of your comfort zone, you learn so much about yourself too. Sorry, I could ramble about that forever.
Well, thank you so much, Avery. I think it's about 5:30, so we'll wrap it up a little here. But that was such an inspiring and useful, and it just probably gave a lot of thoughts for everybody to think about, especially in a difficult time like this. You know, we as musicians, students, teachers, we're all trying to say yes to everything, trying to make it happen and try to keep this arts and music going. And that was a really inspiring lecture for us to hear. And I'm really proud of our students too for doing this chamber music when we're all home and we're connecting. I mean, Avery is joining us from Arizona. He just moved there last week. He's actually joining us in the middle of a big move with his wife. And you know, it's amazing that we're kind of putting arts and music as our priority to keep things alive, spiritually, and also that's important for us. So thanks so much for that. If you were listening on YouTube with us, thanks so much for joining. If you liked what you heard, please consider supporting us. You can visit our page on the Facebook site. We also have our page at Shakim Duo Chamber Music in the Bend. Connect with us in any way. Keep us informed who you are, what you'd like to support us as. Your support will help us develop and continue festivals like this and keep this music alive and going for students and people who like to hear music. So we would love to hear from you. And for the students, tomorrow's our last day. No lecture. This was our last lecture, but we'll have our master class with the participants. And we will talk a lot about now the recording part of it, because we'll now use next week for you guys. We had 5 really intense days of learning how to play with each other, learning the music, communication, phrasing, all that stuff packed into 5 intense days. And you're going to just digest it all and try to make your own recordings in the next week. So we'll talk a lot about that. And Brendan, did you want to add the survey that you want?
Yes, so I just sent an email to everyone regarding sending us a rough draft to Google Drive if you can, but by any means just get it to us so that we can hear how you're doing, so you can hear how you're doing. And then that way we can kind of feed that into the lessons that you have, or the chamber music coachings tomorrow. That'll help us coach you tomorrow on the last day. And I would really ask, I'm sending out a survey. I've just finished constructing it. We're going to check it for grammar errors and make sure it doesn't look too shabby. But please, as soon as you get it, if you could fill that out. This is new for all of us, as we've all been pointing out. This has been a wild ride. And we loved getting to know all of you, even though it was online. And we want to know how you felt about the festival. And we want you to be open and honest. We only do well with what you have to say. So we're going to send that out. If you could get that to us by tonight would be great, but sometime tomorrow we would super appreciate it. So you'll be receiving that in the next couple of hours.
All right, sound good. I'll see you guys tomorrow.